Welcome, friends, it's the Movie Film Podcast. The Movie Film Podcast, enjoy the show. Zachy and Brian are talking about movies. Movie Film Podcast on the radio.
Welcome to Movie Film. This is episode 121, brought to you by Mr. Boy Productions. My name is Zachy Hassan, and I'm joined once again by my good friend Brian Hall.
Hey, Zachy, what's going on?
Good morning.
Good morning. I know, this is one of our, not rare, it's becoming more frequent morning records, which I think we have both felt like we're a little more perky.
Well, that's what happens when first thing in the morning before the weight of life has come crashing down on your shoulders.
Yeah, before we put on the backpacks of sorrow and remorse.
Which is, that's everyday life.
Yeah.
So, what's new? What's happening?
Well, we got some movies. I watched some movies finally. Last time I talked about how busy I was and I hadn't been able to watch anything, and now I binged the entire season of House of Cards. Current season.
You know, I have not watched a single second of House of Cards.
House of Cards was one of those fascinating things where it was the first, I think, notable series to debut on Netflix because it featured Kevin Spacey, was produced and directed by David Fincher, Robin Wright was in it, and it looked like amazing. Like, it looked like a David Fincher film. So I think it was sort of this huge thing, and everybody was really into it. And then it seems like along the way, people sort of fell off the House of Cards train.
Sure. But it seems like a lot of buzz, renewed buzz this season. Yeah,
I don't know. I haven't read a whole ton about it. That's one of the weird things about watching a show on Netflix is after one episode, I was a little confused about a story point because it called back to something like 2 seasons ago. And so I wanted to look up what someone had thought about it. But then you accidentally, when the whole show is dropped at once, they could be talking about an episode that's 5 episodes ahead of you. Oh. So you might actually have something spoiled. So I tended to stay away from people's reactions. Oh man, can you believe this person died in the last episode? You're like, come on, man. I'm only at episode 4. So, but I will say this. Yeah, I know some people have kind of fallen off and gotten a little tired. It's basically about Kevin Spacey being a corrupt politician, lying, cheating, stealing, murdering his way into the White House to become president. And I think after a while it got maybe a little tiresome for some people, but I don't know. For me, I never got tired of this show. I do feel like it, in particular this season, got a little jump the sharky a few times. But at the same time, there's just something about it where I can't stop watching it. Like, the acting is great. The direction is great. The stories have become increasingly silly, and I think the murder count is becoming a little ludicrous. But at the same time, it's still sort of under this cloak of a prestigious looking story and storytelling, and it is. Obviously, it's good storytelling if I can't stop watching it. So, and it's the perfect series, I think, to drop all at once because I watched maybe 4 episodes in a row at a time. And
is it weird to because I feel like this show straddles these different eras where. It came out at a time when it was kind of fanciful. Like, oh, look at this fictional story of just rampant corruption in politics. And then now we kind of have real life House of Cards.
It's true. And it's funny because it's not even just oh, we don't like this, politician and this is a politician who's not good. The parallels are way, way deeper than that. It's actually fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah. This is not, hey, let's bash Donald Trump for half an hour. But no, that's been the biggest thing for me, to be honest. That's preventing me from getting into it now because I'm like, you know what? I wake up every morning and I feel like I'm living the premise of this show.
I've seen a lot of people say that, and I think for me, I am somehow able to sort of separate it a little bit. But it's. This, like I said, this season in particular is sort of fascinating how prescient a lot of the story points are. Even down to issues with Syria and Russia and tampering with elections, and it's kind of astounding, actually.
And did you see anything else?
Yeah, I also saw a movie that I missed in theaters and actually hadn't even really been paying attention to, which was Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar... That's a mouthful. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, which was the last Tim Burton film.
Yeah, I saw the trailer, and I wanted to call it Tim Burton's Tim Burton.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I remember a friend of mine actually slipped me this script, like before they were shooting, like, hey, dude, new Tim Burton, if you're interested. And I was like, yeah. And I don't know why. I couldn't even bring myself to crack it open. And when I saw the trailer, I was like, yeah. And then it was on HBO, which I bring up all the time. I'm like, well, maybe when it's on HBO. Yeah. And sure enough, it was, the weekend, and I wasn't doing anything in the afternoon, and I started it up, and I got to say, I kind of liked it.
Really?
Yeah, it's what I think is really cool about it, especially if you're a Tim Burton fan, is this feels like a closer return to Tim Burton, earlier Tim Burton versus Tim Burton of Alice in Wonderland. I mean, it's no Edward Scissorhands or anything, but at the same time, it felt less like he was taking something that already existed and throwing his little spirals all over it. Like, this felt like something like out of his, closer from like his own brain, even though this is based on an existing book. And it's notable that Danny Elfman did not do the score for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's clearly someone imitating him.
Is there a reason for that? Is there a reason Danny Elfman didn't do that?
I looked at, whenever I watch a movie, I think we've talked about this, I always go on IMDb immediately afterwards into the trivia section, and I think it was just he was overbooked or something.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, because I know they did have, I feel like they had a rift like in the middle of the 90s. They had a rift
for Edward Scissorhands, or sorry, for Ed Wood.
Ed Wood, right, but I think
Howard Shore did that.
Made up. But anyway, I didn't even really know what this movie was about, and without, spoiling it if people want to check it out, it turns out it's about, I mean, these kids with these weird abilities, a girl who is lighter than air who can float and things like that. But at the same time, it's also about these children that are stuck in a time loop during World War II, the day that a German bomber is about to blow up their house. So there's a woman who takes care of them, played by Eva Green, and she can manipulate time. So every night when the bomber goes over the house and the bomb's about to drop, she rewinds this watch and lets them live the day over again. And so a boy from the present is able to visit them through, reasons. And he comes to befriend them, but then, they want him to stay, but he wants them to come with him. But if they do, time will catch up with them and they'll all die. And I was like, I had no idea what this movie is about. This is really cool. So I enjoyed it. I think if you're going to lob any criticisms at it, it is a very easygoing pace as it starts up. It really takes its time, and I feel like they could have truncated a few events just to get the story going. But at the same time, I can't say that I hated it, because that's actually something that I compliment a lot of cable shows for, where they move at their own pace, more like the pace of a book, just to help you sort of settle in and observe more details, to appreciate things on a slightly deeper level. So in some ways I appreciated it, but on the other hand, it isn't a series stretched out over 18 episodes. Like, it's like a 2-hour movie, and I feel like, the loose people are it's either going to turn people off in the first 45 minutes, or people are going to be into it and not care. I found myself in that camp. I noticed it but didn't care because I was so interested in what was going on. So yeah, I think as a HBO movie or a rental, or however you want to check it out, if you're into Tim Burton, I think people might actually be surprised and enjoy it. Oh, and then on top of the World War II and time travel and whatnot, there's also monsters. So, and like genuinely creepy monsters. I was like, this is like one of the cooler, creepier monster designs I've seen in a while. Yeah, I actually when it was over, I was like, that was a fun, I felt like I watched something new. Like, I hadn't seen that story before, and I did not know where it was going and how it was going to end. So
that's rare.
Yeah, I liked Tim Burton, so I enjoyed seeing it through his filter. So
speaking of Tim Burton, it's kind of interesting. My kids have recently become enamored with the Beetlejuice cartoon show.
Oh, funny.
Do you remember that?
Totally. Yeah.
And it's funny because I remember watching it as a kid. I haven't watched it in, close to 30 years at this point. And it's so fascinating to watch this show where you just wonder, how does this thing exist?
I feel like I know what you're saying, but I'm kind of curious for specifics, especially with this one.
Well, I mean, the film, you don't look at the film Beetlejuice and say it's family entertainment.
I know. Somehow it feels like it was sold that way. Maybe just because it's rated PG.
I guess, but it is dark.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, and if you remember, I mean, Beetlejuice is essentially trying to force Winona Ryder to marry him at the end of the movie. Remember that?
Yes.
And, in the film, Winona Ryder's character is like his buddy.
Right.
And they hang out together and they have all kinds of adventures. And it's just really interesting to look at.
On the cartoon, you're saying.
It aired on ABC Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And so this is before things like Adult Swim or whatever. And you can easily see the Beetlejuice cartoon show that would air in primetime.
Primetime?
Right? Like, you can see the version of that would have aired in primetime.
Okay.
You know what I mean? My point is this. Like, if Tim Burton was like, hey, I want a primetime Beetlejuice animated show, you can be like, oh, okay, I can see that.
Sure.
Without knowing what the actual cartoon was. Sorry if I'm not clear. You see this, though, and you're like, it has to be Burton enough for Beetlejuice, but Saturday morning enough for Saturday morning.
Right.
And so it's this, it's too Burton for Saturday morning and too Saturday morning for Burton. Interesting. Right? Because it's just fascinating. I mean, the kids, my younger one, actually, my 3-year-old, he loves it. He's like, I want to watch Beetlejuice.
How funny.
And out of all the kids, he likes it the most. And I just find that really funny. More like the fact that the era which birthed this show that didn't really have available the venues that you could see a more accurate version of Beetlejuice in animation.
Right.
I guess that's what I'm saying. You can see the Adult Swim version or whatever.
Yes, now I understand what you're saying. And I remember the designs. I even remember the opening credits, but don't remember anything about what it was about or what they were doing.
Yeah, I mean the animation is pretty sophomoric. It's pretty garbage. And the guy who's doing Beetlejuice's voice obviously trying really hard to channel Michael Keaton. Mm-hmm. But I don't even know if it's good or bad. I just think it's interesting that it exists, I guess is my point.
Yeah, which you bring up a lot in your Nostalgia Theater posts, where you have these RoboCop cartoons and Rambo cartoons. It's fascinating. I mean, now there's so much scrutinized.
And not just that, there's so many more avenues for animation now.
I guess what I mean is anything that's put out there for children is really heavily scrutinized right now, and even something innocent can be taken the wrong way, and typically is on the front page of Yahoo the next day, and someone says they're sorry, and we move on. But it's funny that back then, we had like a Rambo cartoon. It's like no one cared.
The good old days, as I call them.
It's so funny.
Another movie that I saw, Brian.
Yes.
Is The Mummy.
I saw your post.
Yeah, we talked about this in our last episode, and man, I'm really looking forward to discussing this one with you. My very basic thoughts are, this is funny. I saw somebody post on Twitter. They're like, Universal's Dark Universe, 2017 to 2017. Which I'm not going to go that far. I do. I think that my thoughts on the film, I think you and I both were kind of like, well, Tom Cruise picked this, and it's got to be something there. Mm-hmm. Tom Cruise, come on, Tom Cruise, And I got to be honest, I'm still kind of like trying to find out what it was that Tom Cruise responded to.
That's a bummer. I'm bummed to hear that, to be honest.
It's one thing for sure. He is too old to play the character that he has been given in this film.
That is fascinating in and of itself. Like, why even do that to him?
Yeah,
why not make it make sense that it's him?
But it's kind of interesting because when you watch him as Ethan Hunt, you don't think to yourself, "Oh, he's too old to be doing this," right? Mm-hmm. I felt like, and I think part of that is because the Ethan Hunt character is relatively mature in how he acts. I mean, he thinks and is presented as somebody who's, however old Tom Cruise is, right? There's a maturity to his worldview. And the character here, Nick Morton, it feels like a character who would be played by somebody in their 20s or 30s. In terms of I'm trying not to spoil it. And
Sure.
I'm trying not to color your perceptions. It feels... That was my thought while watching it. I was like, Tom Cruise is just too old to be playing this character. And not because of the action scenes, but because of the character dynamics.
Sure. Maybe in terms of like decision-making and maturity and...
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I gotta say, this was like one of my sort of secret, like, I hope this is the thing that surprises me this summer.
I mean, I think it's fascinating, and I think it's worth watching. I don't think it's good.
Yeah.
But I think I don't think it's, I saw at least one review on I think it was on IndieWire that was like, this is Tom Cruise's worst movie ever.
Okay. Wow.
So there's the polls of this conversation, right? Yeah. I don't think it is that. I think there are parts of it that are kind of a fascinating mess. And what I said, I tweeted about this and I discussed it a little bit on Facebook. The stuff that I thought would be the most off-putting, which is the and look at like all the other stuff in this universe, that was what I liked the most.
Okay.
And every time it veered back to, but now let's do this story, I was like, oh.
Right.
I liked Russell Crowe as Dr. Jekyll. They did some really interesting stuff there. And there are these little teases. It's not obnoxious. There's these little teases towards sort of a broader universe that makes you the movie ends and I'm still like, I want to see what they do next. But as far as the story they're told here, I don't know, man. If you'll pardon the pun, it kind of unraveled at the end.
Well, it's disappointing to hear that it sounds like it's the film I imagined it might be.
Yeah. But I mean, we will talk about it.
We'll talk about it. I sometimes I like when this happens because then I go in with lowered expectations and.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah,
and whenever one of these movies ends, I'm always like, can't wait to talk to Brian about this one.
Yeah.
So this is definitely one of those.
All right. Well, same.
We'll be back. We'll be back next week. Real quick, though, I wanted to share my interview with Zoe Lister-Jones. Do you know Zoe Lister-Jones?
I don't.
I guarantee you, she's somebody who, of her.
Okay.
Like, if you see her, you'd be like, oh, her. She's been on TV for the past several years. She's on a show right now on CBS called Life in Pieces. Have you heard of that?
I haven't.
We don't watch a lot of network TV.
Yeah.
Is what we're showing. She used to be on, the first time I ever saw her was on a show called Whitney.
Whitney right. I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah, she was one of the supporting characters on that show.
Whitney Cummings,
she's been a writer-producer for a little while now. She produced and wrote a movie a couple years ago called Breaking Upward.
Okay.
Which is kind of a relationship dramedy. And she has a new film out right now, which she wrote, directed, and produced, called Band-Aid. And it stars her and Adam Pally as a husband and wife who are kind of the magnificent Bickersons, and they're basically on the verge of breaking up, right?
Yeah.
And they realize that through singing together, they find a venue through which they can criticize each other and also essentially have a dialogue.
I'm gonna surprise you here, Zachy. In spite of not knowing any of Lister-Jones' previous credits, I have heard of this movie.
Okay.
And I saw the description of it and thought, that is something I want to watch.
And it was good. It was another one of these pleasant surprises. It's kind of funny because this opened last Friday, so the same day as Wonder Woman, and you have on the one hand, the glass ceiling is shattered for female filmmakers and making a big budget mega blockbuster. But this is just as much kind of a defining moment for female filmmakers because she made a conscious effort to have a completely female crew.
Oh, interesting.
So, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time there's been a film that completely all-female crew. And I just thought that was kind of fascinating in and of itself, the decision process behind that. And so I had a chance to talk to Zoe about making the film, and the creative process and everything else. And I think it made for a really interesting discussion. So let's go ahead and play that.
So I was thinking about the symmetry of the fact that your film opens the same day as Wonder Woman, which I'm sure I'm not the only one who brought that up, and the fact that we've got the glass ceiling being broken for blockbusters, and then you broke the glass ceiling too in a way with an all-female cast. This is a question that you have answered before, but I wanted to get a little more into that. I mean, it's your first time out as a director. And right away, you're kind of looking at, I'm going to shift the paradigm. Did you have concerns like, am I overstepping? Is this right? What was your thinking there?
I never had concerns about whether or not I should do it. I think it was always very clear that this was something that I was going to do. And I think that when you do things that are as subversive to a paradigm, you kind of have to be that headstrong, or else they won't happen. And I don't know if that was conscious on my part, but I think that there were so many roadblocks and so many people telling me that it was impossible that I had to stick so strong to my guns about it and just not waver. But I think that there were... So I guess whenever a challenge was brought to me or a roadblock sort of came my way, I never felt deterred. It just always felt like, okay, well then let's figure out how to move through that. And I think that my producer and many of my department heads were frustrated by that, because I think there were many moments where it would have been so much easier to say, okay, well, let's at least hire a few men, in these departments, or at least for my right-hand person, I really can trust this guy, and I know that. And so I think it took a lot of really hard conversations, and it took everyone stepping outside of their comfort zones, including women.
Did you find yourself ever second-guessing that, or did it become a point of pride for you at some point where you're like, you know what, this is a decision I made, and come hell or high water, we're going to stick to it?
Yeah, no, I never second-guessed it. No. And I don't really know the moment where I decided to do it, which is like kind of strange, but I guess it feels like something that has been living in me for a long time, and this was just like the opportunity to create it.
Well, just picking up on what you just said, I mean, you have been in the industry for a while. You've been on both sides of the camera, and this film, both for you in terms of as a director, as a storyteller, but also as somebody making these decisions. I mean, what were your experiences prior to this that informed the directions that you took in this film, and not just specifically with the crew hiring, but just in general? I mean, as a director, you're responding either positively or negatively to experiences that you had before.
Well, I think, in terms of the crew, obviously I was really aware of the underrepresentation of women on film and TV sets. And I think I was also aware of double standards that exist, even just in the way that female directors are treated on sets sometimes. And so in some ways there was a self-protective mechanism where I thought, okay, as a first-time female director, let me set myself up to sort of be, the most comfortable and confident version of myself that I can be at the helm of a film, which is already such a daunting task. I think in terms of like other elements of the filmmaking process, I was very aware as an actor what worked and what didn't work with directors that I had worked with over the years, and I think that was a huge learning experience for me, and something that I was kind of absorbing, up until it was my turn to take that on myself. And as a viewer, I think I was craving a relationship comedy that also could navigate much murkier waters, and one that felt messy.
Right.
And I guess I felt like I wasn't seeing that as much as I wanted to be, and so I think it was probably the intersection of all of those things.
I mean, it was hard to watch at times, watching them go at it. That was my thought. I was like, there's sort of the pop culture paradigm of what the bickering couple is like, and it's sort of a sitcom sanitized version. This wasn't that.
Yeah, totally.
And so it was. The discomfort stemmed from a lot of like, ooh, yeah, I recognize myself in him or her,
totally.
And I mean, I'm assuming that's part of the reaction you've been hearing from people about the relationship.
Yeah, it's been so gratifying, obviously, when people see the film and say, like, that's my relationship, which so many people say, even if it's not their current relationship, or I've been in that relationship, or I see myself in those people. And I think as a filmmaker, that's kind of all you want is to create stories and characters that people can really go on a journey with and feel really invested in. So I think like the universality of conflict in relationships is something that crosses so many sections of our population. It's like pretty common. There's just so much common ground. More common ground than I think most people know in their own relationships.
Sure.
Like, I think most people think that their fights are really specific to their relationship, and then you see that actually no, like, we're all kind of having versions of the same fight.
Well, I think in the specificity is a universality.
Yeah.
Like whether it's leaving the seat up here. It's still the same underlying issues.
Yeah.
Did you find a therapeutic aspect to this at all?
Totally. I mean, I think a lot of these questions were questions that I wrestled with throughout my life. And so the screenwriting process especially was me just kind of trying to figure stuff out for myself.
Yeah.
And I did find it really cathartic. I think I find art cathartic in general,
Sure.
even if it's not a personal story. And this obviously has many fictionalized elements, but I think then bringing it to life was also really exciting, because I think some of the themes in the film that deal with what it means to be an artist and failure and
Sure.
And defeat are all things that obviously as an artist I've confronted myself, and in some ways this movie was sort of a test of my own faith in the creative process. And it's so I guess it what's the word I'm looking for? It's so renewed my faith in that process. And so I think some of the meta elements of what Anna and Ben are going through were things that I was also trying to challenge myself to overcome.
And did you, as wearing multiple hats, did you ever find a situation where Zoe the actor was bumping up against Zoe the director? Because I mean, I would assume you're in a scene with Adam Pally and Fred Armisen, and there's got to be part of you that just wants to be in the scene and sort of be creating on the fly. But this is a script you wrote. This is a film you're directing. How did you balance that?
Well, it took a lot of preparation. I think I spent weeks before with my DP and my producer and my AD, just drilling every scene in terms of blocking, camera positions, the overall sort of aesthetic that we were trying to achieve in every scene, because I knew that I felt confident that I would be able to navigate the sort of emotional arcs as a director, but technically I wasn't at monitor, so I needed to make sure that my producer had my exact vision in her line of sight, and she did, and it was essential to have her there. Natalia Anderson is her name, and couldn't have done it without her. I guess I found the convergence of those things really exciting. Like, I think being in the scene and directing the scene and having written the scene, they were all so informative. Like, each was so informative to the next that they never felt distracting, like wearing all the hats. It actually felt really symbiotic.
And Band-Aid is playing in limited release right now. It's coming out slowly. I think it's only in a handful of theaters right now, but I expect it'll be wheeling out to a much wider theater count, as more weeks go by. But worth checking out.
Yeah, that's definitely one I will be checking out.
And I mean, these smaller movies, it feels like just the market for them is drying up, and so I'm kind of like, when a movie is doing something a little bit different, it's worth supporting. It's worth giving a couple hours if you're a film fan, because I think more diversity in the marketplace is better for everybody.
Totally.
So why don't we take a little break, and we'll come back and do some listener letters.
Let's do it.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We got one listener letter here, and this is a prodigious one. But I wanted to get your thoughts on this. So this is from Imran, who emailed us at moviefilmpodcast@gmail.com.
Uh-huh.
And he says, I know you've beaten the subject to death. I know both of you enjoyed all of his earlier films. So the question I'm going to ask you is not out of malice or let's get on the Adam Sandler bashing bandwagon. I don't know that I enjoyed all of his earlier films, to be honest. I'm more, I'm a little more selective with my Sandler.
I definitely had a cutoff, which we can talk about.
Yeah. So he says, humor is relative to age. As we age, our sense of humor becomes more sophisticated. So given that I tried to watch Billy Madison again, now I understand the humor is of that time, but I couldn't get through the first 5 minutes. As soon as I saw him screaming at the swan, I was like, okay, this sucks. But it made me realize one thing. Was Adam Sandler really funny back then? I thought Happy Gilmore was great. Maybe I have an emotional connection to it, so I feel that way. But what if I watched Happy Gilmore today without any emotional connection? Would I feel the same way? Has Adam Sandler always made bad movies, but we're just realizing this now? Brian, you're the Sandlerologist among us. So.
I was going to say, this is really fortuitous timing, because I didn't know about this letter till right now. But on Netflix,
did you watch his new movie?
Well, I was going to say, on Netflix, I've said anytime Sandler puts up a movie, even though I have not liked one of his movies in probably decades, plural, I still give it a start, just because it's there. And I tried watching the Sandy Wexler movie one night, and I only got about like 5 or 10 minutes in, and I stopped. And then last night when I finished House of Cards, I wasn't quite ready for bed, and it was like, do you want to keep watching Sandy Wexler on my screen? And I was like...
I feel like it's the devil on your shoulder popped up.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know, maybe. So I hit play.
And Angel Brian's like, don't do it.
Yeah. I was like, quiet you. And I started up and I turned it off in like 3 minutes.
Wow.
And probably will not be going back.
So you have now hit the Sandler wall.
Yeah. You know what? I thought of something, as you were reading that letter, I thought of something immediately. I really loved Billy Madison when it came out. I loved Happy Gilmore. I liked The Wedding Singer. He lost me at The Waterboy. I remember being in the theater for The Waterboy and having that moment where everyone was laughing around me, and I was like, wait a minute. Like, what's happening here? This isn't funny. And then Big Daddy I thought was fine, and I think he did one or two others that were okay. Like, he started getting into more, like, mixing drama with his, like, broad comedy, And then he completely lost me at some point. But all that to say, I loved Billy Madison, and I still think of Billy Madison from time to time, and Happy Gilmore. But I wonder, and I bet if I watched it now, I'd probably still enjoy it, I think, particularly Happy Gilmore. But I'm wondering if it's because we like Adam Sandler at a certain point.
Sure.
So similar to, it made me think of like YouTube stars right now. Like sometimes I'll see these Instagram stars or these YouTube stars, and I'm like, okay. Like they have like 15 million viewers or something, or people love them, and I'm like, what? Like I don't get it. Like I don't find this guy funny. I don't dislike this guy. I just don't get it. But I wonder if, whereas we were at like the perfect age, we were like 13 or 14 when we first met Jim Carrey and Adam Sandler, and they hit us right at the sweet spot. You know what I mean? And so we liked what he did at the time, and we'll always be endeared to him for those reasons, even if we don't like what he's doing right now. Does that make sense?
It totally does.
Yeah, so I think that probably has a lot to do with it. And I really do feel like the jokes and the comedy has declined, though. I don't feel like it's all nostalgia. I mean, looking at Sandy Wexler, like, it just wasn't funny. Like, nothing funny was happening, But when you have, some jokes, I feel like especially, I keep saying it, but Happy Gilmore and The Wedding Singer, I mean, they are funny. Like, they were jokes. Like, now I think he sort of leans on, like, bad accents and I don't know. I was about to say, but I remember in the Silly Seven or whatever he made, the Western one, it was like there was some huge joke about like a donkey or a horse just like crapping onto a wall.
And the Ridiculous Six.
Ridiculous Six. And I'm like,
does it matter? No.
No. And to me, it's like, well, okay. Like I don't. It is what it is, and that might make like a younger kid laugh or something. It's fine. It's not gonna make me laugh now. And then I was trying to think of like an example of a joke in an earlier Adam Sandler that I could be like, but that was like a real joke. And then the first thing I thought of was when they set the poo on fire in the bag. I was like, well, maybe it was always there. I don't know.
That's really
what are your thoughts on this?
I think it go a little bit like, you watch The Mummy and you're like, Tom Cruise is too old to be doing this. I think that's Adam Sandler in every movie he does.
Yeah.
We can tolerate a man-child as long as he's more child than man.
That's a really good point.
Right. I mean, it's the same reason Dumb and Dumber 2 didn't work.
That is a really, really good point. Yes.
Right? Because Dumb and Dumber 2, that was I felt embarrassed for both of them in that movie.
I did too.
Because you're both, 50, 60, however you are, and you shouldn't be doing that,
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think and Adam Sandler's humor is not built on cogent social commentary.
No.
Right? He's not George Carlin. He's not Louis C.K. He's not Dave Chappelle. It's a specific brand of frat boy humor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you had friends in high school who either you're still friends with them because you have grown up together, or you're not friends with them because they have never matured.
Right.
Adam Sandler is like that guy from high school who never stopped acting like he was still in high school.
Interesting. So building on that, you would be sort of embarrassed by him now if he went into a public restaurant and started goofing off. However, if you were to look at your old yearbook, you'd be like, I remember when that was fun. So maybe that's what it's like to go back to those earlier films.
That's exactly right. Yeah. It's just different to see the Adam Sandler of Billy Madison doing that stuff and trying to do that stuff now.
Yeah.
Tell me the comedian in the Sandler vein who's had a lengthy decades plus long career. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but in that sense, Adam Sandler has already far outlasted many of like similar performers, right?
Yeah.
But it's played out. I mean, there's nothing behind the curtain when it comes to Adam Sandler. He's not doing any brilliant critique of anything. It's just people laugh at fart jokes. So here we go.
Right.
So there we go. Adam Sandler, stop making movies.
Well, I don't know. Apparently his movies perform really, really well on Netflix.
Fine. America, stop watching Adam Sandler movies. America, delete your Netflix account.
It is funny thinking of, because they came up at the same time, Jim Carrey, how he felt like he had to evolve. And he tried.
And that evolution has been, problematic for him.
Yes. And then when he went back to the well with Dumb and Dumber 2, it didn't work.
Yeah, I think Dumb and Dumber 2 was probably about 10 years too late.
Yes.
There was like a window where that would have been okay.
Yeah.
It's funny. I felt more bad for Jeff Daniels in that movie.
I don't remember feeling bad, but I actually remember feeling like, wow, what a good sport.
He was happy to do it, so I don't mean bad. Like
I think he enjoyed being silly for a little bit, yeah.
But I'm just like, oh, Jeff, come on.
There was something weird about seeing them both look 50 and sort of doing these jokes that weren't. I do think Dumb and Dumber is still a funny movie.
It is funny, I agree.
Yeah, but they just couldn't replicate it. So it was hard watching them strain to try.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think any comedian has to evolve to stay relevant.
Yeah.
And the best comedians do that, and the ones that don't disappear. I mean, there's plenty of hot comedy acts from when we were younger who, like, where are they now?
Mm-hmm.
Right, I can't think of any off the top of my head, and that's my point.
And that's my point.
Nobody remembers them anymore,
The Jerky Boys. Again, I remember the Jerky Boys.
Jerky Boys, there's a good example.
Remember, they had a movie and everything.
They had a feature film. There was a feature film. Hollywood was willing to gamble to the tune of millions of dollars to these two guys who their entire resume was, we call people up and make fun of them on the phone.
Yeah, yeah. And so they get in a whole movie where they get in trouble with the mob, I believe, and somehow every sticky situation they get into, there's a phone in the room. So they can solve every problem through prank phone calls.
You have to imagine that the onset of caller ID was like when a single tear rolled down both of their cheeks.
Yeah.
As they saw their livelihoods just evaporate,
Yeah. I wonder if those guys saved their money or if.
No, they're like, man, the party's never going to stop.
Yeah, yeah.
There's always going to be a market for prank phone calls.
I'm sort of curious now. I'm curious where those guys are now.
I wonder if they look at like crank anchors and are like, that's when the gravy train stopped.
Right.
Those damn puppets.
Right.
That's really funny. Yeah, but that's actually a good example. The Jerky Boys.
Yeah.
It's a one-trick pony. I think Adam Sandler is like a 3-trick pony.
Yeah.
And all those tricks have been played out.
Well, I didn't expect for this to keep going, but it's funny that Sandler has also managed to have a dramatic career.
Which nobody wants.
Well, I mean, I actually like Punch Drunk Love by Paul Thomas Anderson. And then there's the movie, the Noah Baumbach movie that apparently got rave reviews out of Cannes. For him specifically. So, and I talked to someone who'd seen it and it was like, yeah.
Brian, I think I've said this before. I feel like every movie he's done for the past 15 years is basically his F.U. to America for not liking him in the movies that he wants to be doing. He's like, fine, you want me to do nothing but just god-awful, soaking wet shit? Here. And he's like daring people, right? Because what other explanation is there? That was my thought. That was my thought when I saw, what was it, That's My Boy?
Oh, I forgot about that movie. Yeah.
Yeah. The hilarious statutory rape movie.
Right.
I
totally forgot that movie even existed. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Adam Sandler.
There we go. There's a lot of time we've spent psychoanalyzing Adam Sandler. Yeah. Moving on, we do have some headlines, Brian.
Yes, we do.
So this is kind of been a big one that's been eating up column inches on the web. Dan Aykroyd has broken bad on Paul Feig.
Yeah, which is a little, well, I was going to say a little surprising because it seems like it's kind of in the past now, but perhaps it isn't. Aykroyd seems to like to say what's on his mind.
Brian, I mean, aren't you feeling a little bit nostalgic for those halcyon days of yesteryear, like 1 year ago, when the entire movie community was up in arms, either fiercely defending the Ghostbusters reboot or fiercely demonizing it?
Versus what?
As opposed to now, where it just feels like everything's gone to shit in the real world. Where
where that's what mattered.
That was the thing that mattered the most. I mean, I kind of miss those days.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, Aykroyd is here to bring it back.
And that was about a year ago that movie came out.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters. And how often have you thought about that Ghostbusters movie after you watched it?
Every now and then when I'm flipping channels and I see Ghostbusters and I turn to it and it's not the one I expect.
And then you keep flipping.
Yeah, I rewatched it once actually on cable with my girlfriend because she hadn't seen it, and it's how I remember it. It's not actively awful. It's not actively memorable. It just kind of is.
It just kind of is. Yeah. It's you know, I think what I said when it came out was I wish it was better, just so that all the people who had been tossing tomatoes at it wouldn't like get to notch a win.
I completely, because the cast was completely fine. Yeah. It just, they deserved a better movie.
Well, so Dan Aykroyd was on British TV this past weekend, and he essentially said, "Yeah, you know, the movie, I like it, and you know, the cast is great, but the director didn't listen to us, and as a result, they ended up spending $30-40 million than they should have, and it was too expensive, and now there won't be one." And and then he said he won't be back on the Sony lot anytime soon.
I know, which seems, I mean, you just don't talk shop like that publicly. That's not.
I'm like, really? Director of Nothing But Trouble?
Right. Oh, he directed that?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I'm like, if people who, you know, drink Crystal Skull vodka shouldn't throw Crystal Skull vodka bottles. I don't know. I lost that analogy a little bit, but
yeah.
Here's the thing, though. He's first of all, Sony fired back. They're like, no, the reshoots cost actually $3-4 million, not $30-40 million.
Yeah.
So that seems more reasonable. At which point, then I put the blame on Sony for greenlighting a movie that was this expensive.
Right. Sure.
Because see, here's the thing. I think what Dan Aykroyd said is impolitic, but I don't think he's fundamentally wrong insofar as the movie cost too much.
Right.
This was a $70 million movie that they spent $140 million on.
Right. Yes. Right. I don't disagree with that. Yeah, I think that's what his statements. I think everybody wants it to be that he's slamming the movie, and he's not necessarily doing that. He's slamming the way it was made.
And he is saying, you know, because the exact quote that I have here from him, because he kind of had to do a little, you know, CYA after. He says, "We just wish he had been more inclusive to the originators. Mm-hmm. It cost everyone, as it is unlikely Kristen, Leslie, Melissa, and Kate will ever reprise their roles as Ghostbusters," which is sad. Now the backstory here, if you remember going back to the Sony leak, the hack and the leak, is that the Sony people actively pushed Ivan Reitman out of the director's chair in order to get Paul Feig in. Do you remember that?
Not really, but I believe it.
Yeah, that was kind of the maneuvering because Ivan Reitman had it in his contract that he had right of refusal. So they essentially needed to push him to refuse because they thought Paul Feig would be more bankable. And I think, honestly, with the benefit of hindsight, I think it's a mismatch of director and subject matter. Mm-hmm. Because I think that Paul Feig's approach to comedy is just a fundamentally different one than the Ghostbusters approach to comedy.
Right.
You know, Paul Feig tends to create a comedic world where everyone has sort of hyper-exaggerated reactions to things, and that's where the humor comes from. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree.
You know, and I think Ghostbusters is a realistic world where people occasionally say humorous things. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
So I do think, I mean, you know, as we tend to do on this show, Sony made a bad decision. They made a series of bad decisions, and then those bit them in the butt when it came to their Ghostbusters reboot, which has now been given the boot.
Yep. And Uncle Dan is happy to continue talking about it.
Yeah, well, but can you blame him, though? This is the thing, because people are really dogging on him. I'm like, well, this is his baby.
It is. No, and I'm not, yeah, I understand. Yeah, this is, and he has been shepherding this thing for years and years and talking about it nonstop. I mean, this meant a lot to him. So it must be incredibly disappointing for it to have, after all that build up and all that work and hype and whatever investment, to have it come to this. I'm sure. Yeah, it's deeply disappointing now.
Well, and what's interesting is it's not just Dan Aykroyd saying this. Ivan Reitman gave an interview, because Ivan Reitman is still involved. He still owns part of the franchise. He's still this production company that they founded. He's still the head of it, or one of the heads. He says, considering the last film was almost 30 years ago, it really did extremely well. He's talking about the new one. I think the film cost too much, frankly, and that's the real issue. I personally had other points of view in terms of where the film should go, and it was kind of a continuous conversation with Paul about that. But Paul was the filmmaker on this one, and he's a very talented director. I wanted to give him enough room to do the film he thought it should be. Now, if you read between the lines there, he's pretty salty about Paul Feig making the choices that he made.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's a very, like, polite Hollywood answer.
Right.
But we've been around it long enough. We can read between the lines there.
Yeah.
Right. So, to that point, I mean, it's got to be frustrating, I would imagine. I mean, geez, like, you work this hard, like you said, and this long, you know.
And I mean, that movie, I mean, that, for people that don't know, but I mean, that movie comes from Aykroyd's heart and brain. I mean, this was his brainchild back in the early 80s. So, it's very personal.
It was entirely his thing, and, you know, he watched it become this global phenomenon that's, you know, for 10 years or so. I mean, when you think about it, from 1984 till, you know, the early part of the 90s, it was a global thing. And then it can't be easy to see that all kind of go away.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the how much the movie cost, let's see, the budget was $144 million, which is insanity.
That's a lot.
I mean, see, this is the thing I truly don't understand, because where did that money go? Again, I'm not exaggerating. You figure Baywatch cost $65 million, and that was too much for Baywatch. But you spent $65 million on Ghostbusters. That's right in the wheelhouse. Right? Because it made $128 million domestically, so it didn't even make its budget back. And then worldwide total, $230 million. So it's not enough.
Right.
For all that.
Yeah. That feels, to me personally, like if I were the guy and I was to throw out a number, I would say 80.
Yeah.
Knowing
right,
it's effects heavy and whatnot. But yeah. But, you know, I mean, if you had a scrappier young filmmaker, you could probably do that. And be like, well, this is what you have to make it work. But when you have someone like him, I'm sure he was like, I need this.
See, and I don't know. I mean, I think that, I mean, it's like digging up the old stuff. You know, the question is, would it have done better? Would it have been better received if it took into account the previous films instead of trying to just do its own brand new thing?
Yeah.
You know, I still feel like that would have been value added, and you would have kicked a few more dollars into the bucket. You know?
Yeah, I think so too.
So I think that was just a fundamental miscalculation on Paul Feig's part.
Yeah, but it's been interesting. I mean, just seeing so much written about this again this past week with Aykroyd's comments.
Yeah, well, it's launching some more clickbait.
Yeah,
this is the dead cat bounce when it comes to this story. You know, in stock terms, when a stock bottoms out, it'll go up slightly and then it'll crash again, and they call that the dead cat bounce. That's basically this for Ghostbusters 2016.
Yeah.
Although apparently there's this animated movie that's coming out next year that nobody's going to watch.
Yeah, I've heard about that. That is actually happening.
Per Ivan Reitman, it is, but, you know.
Well, I guess that makes sense. I mean, if it's animated, they'd have to be working on it at this point if it's coming out, so.
Yeah.
For the time it takes to produce.
It's set in the year 2050.
Which is kind of what Aykroyd wanted in the first place, isn't it?
Yeah, he wanted something futuristic. That's right.
Anyway.
Well, it's a whole new way for people to not be interested in Ghostbusters anymore, so that's exciting. But hey, Sony, while we're talking Sony, what's this news story, Brian?
Yeah, I thought this was kind of interesting. Just yesterday, Sony said it was going to launch something called Clean Version, which is basically they're going to make their movies. So when they make these movies, right, PG, PG-13R, no matter what it is, they have to make airline-safe versions or TV-safe versions, right? So they substitute curse words, heavily edit sex scenes, violence, things like that.
So I'm tired of these MFing snakes on this MFing plane becomes I'm tired of these monkey fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane.
Exactly that. Or Yippee-ki-yay,
that's real,
Mr.
by the way.
Falcon.
I didn't make that up.
Yeah. You know that one too, right? I heard too.
Which one was it?
Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon.
Mr. Falcon.
But it's so funny because it doesn't even sound like his voice. But anyway, and I've always been before I even get into the story, I've always been fascinated by these versions because sometimes in movies it'll be alternate takes. So you're like, oh, that's like he's actually saying something different here with his lips. Like they filmed a different version, which I always found fascinating. Or they'll either get, I don't know how this works anymore, but it used to be they would get someone who sounded like the actor. So it was incredibly jarring. You know, it'd be like, you know, shut the heck up, you know, kind of a thing. And a movie I worked on a couple years ago, it was built into the ADR sessions. So I remember having the pages for every curse word. It'd be like minute 37, and it would have, I think, the original word, and then it would have like a couple options how to replace it. And the actual actors in their ADR sessions had to record the alternative, cleaner dialogue. So anyway, those versions, we've seen those before on airplanes and televisions, but now Sony has decided they're going to launch what they call clean version, which is where when you buy any film, so you are buying the original theatrical version regardless of content, a clean version, like the TV version, will be included as bonus content.
I see.
So if you happen to want to watch Elysium or something, I'm just looking at the picture here of one of their movies, which is rated R, with your kids, like maybe you'd be a little hesitant of the original R-rated version, but you think it's something, a sci-fi movie they would like, you will buy the original version, but you have the option to watch the clean version of that with your kids, I suppose. So it's funny. I was like, oh, it kind of makes sense in a way. I mean, these versions exist, and it's not like they're replacing the original. They're just making it an option. I was like, oh, almost like a bonus audio track or something.
Yeah, you know, I read the story, and it didn't really rub me wrong, but people are kind of up in arms about this.
It's funny. I've noticed in the comment section, most people seem to think it's okay. I've noticed most people are like, yeah, I'm a parent, and I kind of get this.
Yeah.
And then I have noticed, though, that it seems Seth Rogen in particular, I was going to say artist, but Seth Rogen in particular was like, don't do this to my movies. He tweeted that. So
but it already exists. I mean, you're not replacing the one that, you know, it's, I mean, to say that is to ignore the fact that we've been living in a world of TV edits for decades now.
Yeah, I'm kind of, I think I'm kind of with you on this. It doesn't really move me one way or the other. And I think it's, like you said, because it already exists, and it's not really the option A. It's sort of this, if you want it, option B, right? You're still buying the original version. I'm just kind of surprised it doesn't already exist, to be honest. Like I said, it's like an alternate audio track or something.
Right.
But there have been, I think why there's a little bit of hesitation or controversy attached to this for certain people is that this has existed previously by private companies where they have taken movies like DVDs or whatnot and made their own cuts. I can't remember what they were called. And then they have put those out for rent.
Right.
So that is outside of the studio system.
Which I have a problem with.
Yeah, I completely understand when someone's profiting off of making an alternate cut of your movie, and then, yeah, I totally get it. And on the other hand, I also do understand where if you are a filmmaker and you have made what is your film, I think Goodfellas, I want to say, was so heavily edited for television that Scorsese took his name off of it.
Oh, really?
I want to say it's Goodfellas. It might be another film, but it's, regardless, a movie that is very much an R-rated film. At one point, some filmmakers have decided to take their... Maybe Heat also might be like that, where it's been changed so much, they're like, well, this isn't my movie anymore. Like, this isn't what I want out there in the world representing what I attempted to do with my name on it. So I can't hold that against any filmmaker, but like you said, I mean, this is something that kind of already exists, and it's not replacing anything, it's just sort of acting as an alternative if you want it. So, I don't know, I was just like, okay.
I do think there are some movies that parents shouldn't be like, oh, let's watch the family-friendly version of. Like, for example, Goodfellas. Like, maybe just don't watch that with your kids.
Right. Maybe wait till they're of the appropriate age to...
Yeah, I mean, I'm not telling you how to raise your kids, but don't, you know, there's no clean version of that makes it less awful in terms of what it's exposing your kids to.
Right, sure. Right? Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm not saying Goodfellas is awful, just to be clear.
No, not at all, yeah.
For an 8-year-old, it's awful, yes.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. It's funny because one of the first things that came to my mind with this was the movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which is an entirely PG-rated movie until you get to one scene where Steve Martin just completely curses out this woman at a rental car counter. And it's funny because as a grown man, that scene cracks me up because I can completely relate to it after all he's been through, and it's shocking and funny that all of this comes out of him when it hasn't up to that point. Like, that's the joke. But I remember growing up watching that movie on television with my grandparents every year, right? Because it would be on during the holidays, and the whole family loved that movie. So my grandparents told us that they wanted to show it to their fellow grandparent-aged friends, and they went and rented it and were completely shocked by that scene because they didn't know that that's what was really happening in that scene. And so it kind of made me laugh, and I was like, oh, well, every family's different. Their tolerances are different. But I could see if there was like the TV version of Planes, Trains, that's probably the version I would watch with my grandparents. So, to each their own. But
yeah. Brian, what else?
Well, what else we got here? Oh, I wanted to bring up just briefly that Steven Spielberg, who, of course, is one of our favorite filmmakers, he has a new movie coming up called The Papers, which takes place in the 70s and centers on the Washington Post's editor, Ben Bradley, who's going to be played by Tom Hanks, and his publisher, Kay Graham, played by Meryl Streep. And they face off against the U.S. government over publication of the Pentagon Papers, which was a series of classified military documents leaked to the press by a military analyst. So this is a true story. And I was like, oh, well, we've talked about how Spielberg has kind of veered away from adventure films, is now making these true story movies, which they're never bad, but every now and then they can feel a little like, well, I can appreciate how well made that was, but I can't say that I was really thrilled by it. Something like Lincoln or War Horse, like, they're not bad films, but they're not exactly lighting our fire. But this sounds kind of interesting and even like a little resonant with today's times and whatnot. And yesterday, Variety reported that the cast now features, in addition to Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep, Alison Brie, Carrie Coon, David Cross, Bruce Greenwood, Bob Odenkirk, Sarah Paulson, Jesse Plemons, Bradley Whitford, Zach Woods. I mean, just a whole slew
Michael
of really.
Michael Stuhlbarg is in there.
I'm sorry?
Michael Stuhlbarg, dependable Michael Stuhlbarg.
Oh, yeah, dependable. Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, oh, that's really exciting. But the thing that really caught my eye was that Spielberg didn't sign on to this movie until this past March. But the movie has a release date of December this year, which I was like, holy crap.
That's what happens when you get Steven Spielberg.
I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, I can't imagine it's going to be a super effects-heavy movie, even though actually, as I say that, it probably will be, because they'll probably remove a lot of anachronistic things from locations and whatnot. But I just was fascinated by that Spielberg is going to put together what will probably be an Oscar-contending movie in a matter of months from beginning to end.
You say Tom Hanks and Spielberg, I've already bought my ticket.
Ditto. So
so this comes out in December.
In December, I guess December 22nd this year. So
there we go. Something to look forward to.
There we go.
Quick turnaround. Well, that's, again, I think at this point, Steven Spielberg, he knows his job. And this is essentially like his Shake the Cobwebs Loose movie before he gets to Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Well, and he's still got Ready Player One in there.
Oh, that's right.
I don't even know when that's coming out. Isn't that amazing that this is going to beat Ready Player One to theaters?
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, which is shot. Like, there were, set photos from that months ago. So it's funny how he's just hopscotching around projects.
It's kind of like how Zemeckis shot What Lies Beneath in the middle of Castaway.
Yeah, right.
Because like they had to wait like 6 months while Tom Hanks got emaciated.
Yeah, right. So he shot a little thriller in between.
Yeah, and that was released first.
Right.
Kind of similar.
So
Tom Hanks is
I guess when you know what you're doing.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
We do have a couple trailers, Brian.
We do.
Speaking of knowing what you're doing, we got some interesting stuff from some interesting filmmakers. So let's go through these. First up is Logan Lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be confused. This is not the sequel to Logan from earlier this year.
I can't help but think of Logan every time I see the title, but
I wonder if the studio kind of regrets the title. Because you have to imagine there will be a little bit of confusion in the market from dullards.
I keep wanting to call it Lucky Logan as well.
Lucky Logan, yeah. That's going to be there's going to be that too. Like the 50, 60-year-old housewives. I want to watch Lucky Logan. One for Lucky Logan, please.
Yeah, totally. But what is this? What is this? This
is Steven Soderbergh, the perpetually retired Steven Soderbergh.
Right.
Didn't he retire like 5 movies ago?
Yeah, he said he wasn't going to make any more films.
So is he caught in a time loop like the characters in Miss Peregrine's? Because time is still moving forward and he's still making movies. So I'm seeing something is amiss.
Yeah, heist movies, no less.
So this one is kind of
comedically stylish heist movies.
What's that?
I was just going to say, he keeps making comedically stylish heist movies.
Very Soderbergh-ish.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about this until I saw the trailer. I didn't know who was in it. I knew nothing. And then I saw the trailer. I was like, oh, wow, well, let's play some of the audio. We can talk about it.
Charlotte Motor Speedway. I know how they move the money.
The only guy who knows anything about blowing up real bank vaults is Joe Bang.
I am incarcerated. Yeah, we got a plan to get you out.
So the cast of this one, Brian, we got Channing Tatum, Adam Driver, Seth MacFarlane, Katie Holmes, Catherine Waterston, Sebastian Stan, Hilary Swank, and Daniel Craig doing everything he can to distance himself from James Bond.
Yeah.
Now, honestly, I don't know. Maybe it's just me getting older, but I saw the trailer. I'm like, I can't wait for this.
Yeah. I'm always down for a heist movie. Yeah, there's just something really fun. I love, because there's something thrilling about them because you feel like you're along with the crew typically. And also you're always like, well, how are they going to do this one? Because they're going to have to come up with all these inventive ways to get around impossible situations. So they're always like a blast. And, as a bonus, it looks fun.
And that's those Ocean's movies, the one thing you can say is it feels like everyone making them had a good time.
Right. And usually that comes, you feel like you're in on the fun.
Yeah, exactly. So this is like the working class Ocean's 11, basically.
Right. So yeah.
Although, what is Daniel Craig doing?
It's so funny because I don't even know if I can describe it to you, but I know I've met that person. Honestly. Sort of the... I don't even know. Check out the trailer, but I've met that guy.
That's what it feels like to me. It feels like he's trying to create a character that lets people know, look, I'm not just James Bond.
Right. And it looks like, it looks like fun, so.
Yeah, it looks like it could be a good time. And this one doesn't come out until August, so I think by the time it comes out, we'll be in the mood for something like this.
Agreed.
That's my suspicion. Another trailer for an upcoming film. This is American Made. This one stars Tom Cruise. More Tom Cruise. Let's play some of the audio from this.
Top of your class in the Civil Air Patrol. A pilot like you shouldn't be flying buses.
Welcome to Miami. Welcome to Bakersfield.
Haven't you ever wanted something more, Barry?
You should be serving your country.
You're CIA.
Shh. We need you to deliver stuff for us.
Oh, this is legal?
If you're doing it for the good guys.
All right, so American Made. Now, this one, I hadn't even heard of this until I saw the trailer.
Yeah, same.
Doug
Liman.
I was actually Doug Liman. Yeah, kind of surprised by that. So reteaming with Tom Cruise after Edge of Tomorrow. Mm-hmm. They did something else together, right?
Did they?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Can't think of it.
Probably not. But we were talking earlier about how Tom Cruise is too old to be doing The Mummy. This is, to me, more in his wheelhouse of the type of roles he should be doing now.
Yes. So, the gist of it, if you couldn't glean it from the little clip, is a pilot, true story apparently, about a pilot lands work for the CIA as a drug runner in the South during the 1980s. And this looks like Cruise doing some comedy as well. Like he's a little foppish and amidst like dangerous situations, which I I don't think it's any surprise I'm on board. So.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the trailer. I saw without knowing if it's good or not, but I'm just like, this definitely, having just last night watched Tom Cruise do, Tom Cruise action movie 2017. I'm kind of like, this seems like a better use of his persona.
Totally agree.
So yeah, Doug Liman, this one, and it's produced by Ron Howard. So.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, so I mean, it looks like Tom Cruise stumbled into Narcos.
Basically, right.
Yeah. I sent the trailer to my brother, and I was like, Tom Cruise, true life drug story, Escobar, I'll get the tickets. So
this looks like it could be a good one.
Yeah.
Now, our next trailer, this is one that I'm intrigued by. I don't know how I don't know what I think, what I'm supposed to think of it. And this is Murder on the Orient Express. Mm-hmm. And it is based on, of course, the famous Agatha Christie story. This one stars Kenneth Branagh as Hercule Poirot.
Oh, very nice.
You have to say it that way. Otherwise, you're not legit. Let's play some of the audio from that trailer.
Okay.
A passenger has died.
So they got him after all. You assume he was killed?
No, not. Well, he was in perfectly good health. He had his enemies.
Indeed, he was murdered.
God, murder here. God rest his soul.
Someone was rummaging around my cabin in the middle of the night. No one would listen to me.
If there was a murder,
What is going on?
then there was a murderer. The murderer is with us. And every one of you is a suspect.
And who are you?
My name is Hercule Poirot, and I am probably the greatest detective in the world.
So this same thing here, Brian. I had no idea this movie existed.
Oh, interesting. See, I had heard about this because Josh Gad kept doing these videos with Daisy Ridley.
Okay.
Did you see those? Where he's basically like pressuring her for spoilers from the next Star Wars film. And she, I don't know. I think just because of that, it was like wherever posted those videos would be like, yeah, they're working together on this film and he's bothering her. Or whatever.
Josh Gad harasses Daisy Ridley.
Right.
So the cast here, Kenneth Branagh, Penelope Cruz, Willem Dafoe, Judi Dench, Johnny Depp, the aforementioned Josh Gad, Derek Jacobi, Michelle Pfeiffer, Daisy Ridley.
Yeah.
Wow.
Stuffed.
It's pretty impressive. And I think I would assume part of that is because Kenneth Branagh is directing a movie, and when Kenneth Branagh says to you, I want you in my cast, you say, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to cop to having never seen the original. I don't even know if there's one before it, but I guess one from the 70s that everybody was raving about when they were mentioning this trailer.
I've never seen the original either.
Okay, I thought you were gonna like chide me.
No,
but I'm interested almost to check that one out first if everyone loves it so much, and then just sort of see how this one compares.
I mean, there's a 1974 one directed by Sidney Lumet. I'm assuming that's the one that you're talking about.
I assume.
There's also a 2001 version directed by Carl Schenkel, and Stuart Harcourt did one in 2010.
Oh wow.
So not too long on. That one stars David Suchet. So I don't know. I think again the theme of all of these trailers is that as we get older, I find this type of stuff much more interesting than the usual summer bombast. You know,
completely agree. Yeah.
I saw this trailer. I'm like, oh look, it's a murder mystery. How quaint. I want to see what happens. You know.
Yeah. Well, and from really capable filmmakers. So it's like, oh, well, I'm sure we're going to be in for something pretty well done and hopefully captivating.
Watch it culminate in, for some inexplicable reason, a blue beam shooting into the sky. And you're like, God damn it.
Yeah, totally. They like forgot to take it off the whiteboard when they were outlining the movie. That's permanently etched in here.
It's Sharpie, guys. Somebody used a Sharpie.
Yeah.
We use Expo on the board.
That's the only reason it's been included in all of these movies for the past decade.
Somebody used a Sharpie.
Oh wow! And then you get a new whiteboard installed without it written on there. Like, this changes everything.
I know. You know what's funny is that the beam shooting into the sky has become this like shorthand now. Like it's become a commonly commented upon trope.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, you were way ahead of all those Johnny-come-latelys.
Well, thank you.
As far as I'm concerned, every time somebody mentions that, they should say TM and C Brian. Because that's 100% you.
I don't know. I have noticed other people say it, so who the heck knows? But like I just remember it really stood out to me, I think, because I didn't understand what it was. It just looks like shorthand for like bad thing happening. You know what I mean? And then it just kept reappearing. It became so glaring to me. I don't know.
That's really true.
Anyway,
it's funny.
That would be hilarious. Even if they did like a fake trailer, just putting a blue beam into Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah.
That would crack me up.
All right, moving on. Brian, I hear some music, and you know what that means.
It's time for Star Wars news.
What do we got?
Well, this week we've heard dribs and drabs from Colin Trevorrow, but this feels like the first time we've ever really heard him head-on address Episode 9, because, I mean, we're in, Episode 8.
We're still in Last Jedi mode, which is Rian Johnson, but Rian Johnson is done after this one.
Yeah.
And he hands the torch to Colin Trevorrow, who wrote and directed Jurassic World, and he's now writing and directing Episode 9.
Yeah. And so he recently, he's out, speaking of, I forget the phrase you used, but where Spielberg is about to make some big movie, so then he makes a tiny movie in between. Trevorrow is out promoting his latest movie, The Book of Henry, which I guess comes out this summer. I'm not sure exactly when. But anyway, so out, obviously, as he's out doing press for that, he's getting asked a lot about Star Wars, and he went on to say, praise the story team and the people he's been collaborating with, including J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson, and of course, Kathleen Kennedy. And just saying that between them and Lucas Story Group, he says, the best minds are available, everybody's engaged in making this the most satisfying and emotionally resonant conclusion we can possibly deliver, which is, of course, what you want to hear about wrapping up this current trilogy. But he also was asked about Carrie Fisher, because obviously, and Kathleen Kennedy has even addressed this, but prior to her passing, she was expected to be a major presence in episodes 8 and 9.
Yeah.
So he was, I don't know if he's responded to anything about this, but he did, again, recently, and he just said that Fisher was a major character. That's not a secret. She really was. And it was extremely sad for all of us, mostly just because she was so loved by the Star Wars family and everyone that worked with her. And he says, I feel like our options are limited mostly by ourselves in that there are only certain things that we are willing to do, but I can guarantee it will be handled with love and respect and all the soul that Carrie Fisher deserves.
Man, that's a tough situation.
Yeah, it's just tough all around. I mean, it's sad in real life, and then also, I mean, she means so much to people in these films, right, as a participant in these films, and you
can't be like, oh, and by the way, Princess Leia died.
Yeah, she needs a proper send off in this universe as well, which will also, like, unlike many movies, I mean, this will mean something on multiple levels for viewers.
Yeah.
So it's obviously something on their minds and something they say they're going to handle with love and respect, but I don't envy them trying to figure out what that means, what that is.
What a challenge. I'm reminded, and this is not a perfect analogy, but I'm reminded of when Larry Hagman died, and they were still making Dallas.
Right.
And it's kind of the same thing, right? Like, you can't be like, oh, by the way, J.R. Ewing died, right?
Right.
Anyway, moving on. Like, he is Dallas.
Right.
Right? So they found a way somehow to give the character an on-screen death, and I mean, it's kind of amazing the solution they arrived at. And they did it just by going through and looking at all the footage that was available to them, everything he'd shot, everything that was not aired. I mean, you name it, and it's similar actually to Oliver Reed on Gladiator.
Right.
Were the same thing, where they had to fabricate a death scene that was not even part of the original plan. And again, same thing. That character that he played in Gladiator was important enough that you couldn't just not have him appear again.
Right.
So I when you have a team as talented as the people making the Star Wars movies, I'm confident that whatever they do arrive at will be suitable.
I agree, and it does make you sad for what could have been as well.
Absolutely.
You wonder what they had in mind, and the new trilogy here has been a celebration of characters and actors that we have loved our whole lives. Yeah. So it's sad that we won't get to see what they had in mind for us to celebrate Carrie Fisher further.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Another piece of news, Brian, I thought this was interesting. Rancho Obi-Wan. Have you heard of this?
I only from you just this morning. I have not heard of this.
So for those of you who don't know, so Rancho Obi-Wan is this place that's owned by Steve Sansweet, who used to be like Lucasfilm fan relations rep for a while, for like 20 years. But even before that, during that, and after that, he had a collection of Star Wars merchandise that, going back to the release of the original films, that expanded to the point that now in the Guinness Book of World Records, it's the largest private collection of Star Wars merchandise. And so he put it all on display. What's that?
I just said that must be enormous then, because I can imagine there's large collections out there.
I mean, hundreds of thousands of items easily.
Yeah.
Right. And so he has it all on display in this massive warehouse in Petaluma, California, which is not too far from where I am in the Bay Area. And it's called Rancho Obi-Wan. Mm-hmm. And essentially, this is something I've known about Steve Sansweet for years. I mean, I remember buying a book that he wrote back in the 90s called Star Wars From Concept to Screen to Collectible. And it's this is before like Star Wars toys came back.
Right.
Because there was like a lull. Like we think of Star Wars as, it goes back right to 1977. No, between like 85 and 95, there was no merchandise. Mm-hmm. Right? And so during that time, he wrote this book talking about the whole process of how the toys came to be. And it was fascinating. I mean, the story of Star Wars merchandise is a separate, compelling story to the story of the making of the movies. Mm-hmm. In fact, they've made documentaries about just Star Wars merch.
Right.
So interesting, right? So that was the first time I really, you see all the variations and, Boba Fett with a rocket backpack that fires.
Right.
That was only a prototype. And so there's all these variations in the figures, and Jawas had like plastic capes, and then they gave them cloth capes, all that stuff. So I was never aware of any of this stuff until I read this book by Steve Sansweet. And so he has this warehouse where this stuff is on display. And turns out, I mean, this is like a heartbreaking story earlier this week, that this guy who he had known for like 20 years, had basically been slowly ripping him off. And stole several items of merchandise that collectively account for about $200,000 worth of value.
So it was an inside job, someone he knew.
It was essentially an inside job, somebody he had known and trusted.
Well, that's
just quietly ganked it.
So what happened? I mean, is this guy on the run? I mean, he knows him.
So apparently, I mean, this all came to light because, and I'm not a Star Wars collector per se. I'm just kind of like, I see something neat on the rack and I buy it. That's the extent of my collecting. Mm-hmm. But obviously, there's people who are like real hardcore into that, and you figure that's a relatively small, tight-knit group. So essentially, it's all like game of telephone. Like one person bought an item from somebody that he knew had been stolen from somebody else, and then the person who bought the item, who knew it was stolen, was like, well, only one or two other people would have this. One of them would be this guy, Steve Sansweet. So, hey, you should check if you have this. And he checks and it's missing. Like, it's weird how that works,
That's kind of nice. Like a circle of confidence. I don't know.
A circle of trust, if you will.
Yeah.
This person violated, clearly.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently like 900 or so items were stolen by this guy who just, I mean, I think the hubris of thinking he wouldn't get caught is kind of crazy. Yeah. But he sold a lot of these items. So now the Steve Sansweet is basically pleading with anybody who may have bought these stolen items, can you please return them if you can? A lot of people who bought it are just returning it. Even if they're out of money, they're returning it.
That's nice. You know what? And like kudos to them, because that wouldn't be easy. I'm sure they didn't pay. I'm sure they, in some cases, paid a pretty penny. So
pretty penny, and not only that, it's not like anybody would know.
Yeah.
You know, if you're like, well, I have this thing, nobody knows I have it, so I'll just keep it here.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because this was retweeted by Mark Hamill and Peter Mayhew, you know, who are putting the word out. So in other words, it's I think sharing this story is an interesting one because just it gives you an insight into how sort of tight knit the Star Wars fan community is.
How cool for him too. I mean, the people who are the originators of the thing that he loves are looking out for him currently.
Yeah. And you can, you know, folks, if you're listening, like go to YouTube and type in Rancho Obi-Wan. There's lots of videos that show you just the stuff that this guy has available. And it's really, it's essentially a museum that's been set up, and it's a non-profit museum. It's there just for fans. You know, if you pay, you know, it's like a museum membership. You pay whatever, but you know, you have the opportunity to go on a guided tour through look at all the different artifacts, not just merchandise. There's also replica props and things like that. I mean, if you're a Star Wars fan, it's something that you would really appreciate. It's something I really want to do one of these days. Go with the boys.
Yeah, I'd love to check it out.
Through the warehouse, there. You know. Well, Brian, if you come up here, you know, maybe we can plan to make a trip out of that.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Well, that wraps up Star Wars news, but we do have one more thing to talk about, Brian.
What's that?
Well, there's this little movie that opened a couple days ago.
I wonder what that is.
This little micro-budget indie thing that a few people saw. That was Band-Aid, but we talked about that earlier in the episode. There's another movie, though, and that's Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
The day is finally here. We are now talking about Wonder Woman, and I have thoughts. I'm sure you have thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this one, you know, it came on tracking a few months ago, and they were saying about $65 million it was going to open at.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that, and I was like, well, that's fine, but I have a feeling it'll beat those estimates, and it beat those estimates by about $40 million. So this is like the inverse opposite of what happened with Baywatch and Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, I wonder how it was tracking so low. I mean, to be that off. Well, and then going back to what you just said about Baywatch and Pirates, like, how have those three movies been so off?
Well, I mean, I think the common ingredient here is reviews, Brian.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So people slag on critics, but I think critics have... Weirdly, I think the age of critic-proof movies might be over. At least in the sense of... I think the age of one critic being able to sink a movie, that's gone. But I think the collective power of a Rotten Tomatoes score has increased. And I have issues with that. But it is what it is. We see the negative and the positive of that in 2 consecutive weeks.
Right.
So I saw Wonder Woman. I gave a brief reaction to that last week. What are your thoughts? What are your non-spoiler thoughts on Wonder Woman?
So... I was looking forward to this movie anyway, but it has been amazing seeing what a phenomenon it's become culturally. I think, I mean, every single day there's an article written about it or a think piece written about it, or you're seeing it on the front of news websites and whatnot, which I had not anticipated, but I'm not surprised by either. And it's honestly kind of a nice thing, I think. You know, it's something that everybody's enjoying together. And so anyway, with that in mind, I had been like, I just hope... I've never seen... I don't know a lot about Wonder Woman. I am just really getting tired of superhero movies. I was just hoping for something that felt a little different. That's what I went in hoping for. And even with the trailers, I mean, we with the DC universe, they've all sort of felt kind of dark and mopey and violent and just not exactly what we were hoping for out of these films. In particular... films involving Superman and whatnot. So I was sort of expecting something very cut from the same cloth for Wonder Woman, but hoping for something was just even slightly a different story. And so going into the movie with all of that, I was thrilled actually that it did feel completely different than the other films. And halfway through, I was like, this is a really good story. These are like really interesting characters. Like Diana Prince or Wonder Woman, she's not addressed as Wonder Woman any time through the movie, but her character feels different. Like, the reason I've sort of become tired with superhero films is even when we get new origins, they all just kind of go through the same beats, you know? Right. And I think that's why I've liked Guardians of the Galaxy so much, because even though it's a Marvel film, it feels like an entirely different thing. It just feels like a space adventure with different character types. And I was really pleased to see that Wonder Woman herself felt like a different character type. She is strong and she is eager, but she's also naive, but noble. And it was really fascinating the way that they took those things and then just threw her into a historical setting, and how she goes in ready to fight, but she still has a lot to learn. And I just found that, and her relationship with Chris Pine's character, Steve Trevor, he was the perfect counterpart for her to go through this journey of discovery. I thought he was a great character himself. I thought he had an interesting journey himself. And aside from some third act sort of blech kind of moments, I really like this movie a lot. So, yeah.
Well, that wraps up our discussion of Wonder Woman. Oh wait, we want to talk spoilers.
Yeah.
All right. Well, why don't we breach the spoiler wall and we'll get into it.
Let's do it.
Spoilers.
So, you know, I'm with you. I mean, everything you said I agree with, and I offered my brief take last week. One thing I will say is the reaction online has been very interesting, because I feel like it's being hoisted almost too high.
I completely agree. I think people are trying to make this movie into something more than it actually is. Right. Not everybody, because it is. I was sitting outside of the Galleria here in Sherman Oaks, and I was just reading, doing something completely different one day, and I saw at least 3 fathers with their daughters who were dressed like Wonder Woman.
And there you go.
That's not nothing. That's really special, and I do think it's important. But I think people want to take that, and they want to run with it even further in ways that just allow them to write more articles. And
it's interesting, because I've seen a few reactions that are like, this is the greatest superhero movie ever made.
Right.
And I'm like, well, it's good. It's very good. When I say the greatest superhero movie ever made, I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's like The Dark Knight or Superman the movie, you know?
Yeah.
This is very, very good, though. Like, I really want to emphasize that, and I think it really benefits from how different it is from the previous DC universe movies.
Yes.
I mean, this might as well be the start of the DC universe.
Yes.
I wish it was, to be honest.
It very well could have been. This could have been their Iron Man.
Yeah, you know, and I think it works on the same level as Iron Man, in the sense that it's not afraid of being a comic book movie.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, that's kind of the thing, right? Is when you look at Batman v Superman and Man of Steel in retrospect, certainly, there's this sense, it feels like Zack Snyder is apologetic about the notion of somebody doing good to do good.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So he's not apologetic about the tropes, the superhero tropes of wearing a costume, whatever, but the motivational aspect. Why is a hero heroic? Because it's good to be selfless.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I've said this before. Like, when you take a Superman on screen and you take away that element of it, where you make it a chore for him to give of himself, that's troubling. You know, it to me. And I think what Patty Jenkins, who directed this film, what she got is what Richard Donner got about Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, why is a hero heroic? Because that's what heroes do.
Mm-hmm. I think the number one reason this movie succeeds is because of the character herself.
Yeah. You know, she's not driven by vengeance. She's driven by, I'm going to go out and I'm going to help people. I'm going to stop the war.
Yeah. Which, you know, I thought that gave her such a great arc, too, because she leaves a comfortable, I mean, it's like the total hero's journey, right? She's in her ordinary world. It's what she knows, and she's eager to be noble. And so she goes out into something completely different, and she still has those noble traits. And she isn't. And what I love is that she isn't arrogant about it either. like about her abilities. She just is eager to help. But then she finds that she has a lot to learn about humanity, and she is just ready to be the best version of herself to help out in this world she's discovering. And it was just so refreshing.
Yeah, I mean, I really need to give it up to Gal Gadot.
Oh my goodness, yes. She portrays this stuff so well.
It's interesting because one question I've been asked, obviously, as somebody in the Muslim community, Gal Gadot has, in the past, she was part of the IDF, and she sort of tweeted support for, attacks against, during the Lebanon war about 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And people asking me, well, how do you feel about this? How do you, and my response though is, I can't answer that. I can't. I have to somehow be able to separate this stuff, mm-hmm. and I'm not going to boycott a movie or whatever because of somebody's political views that I personally don't know enough about. So I can't speak to that aspect. But what I can speak to is that what she represents in this film is an aspirational character, mm-hmm. and a character who, regardless of your, ethnic or ideological background or whatever, that you can look at as somebody who is worth emulating. The character, at the very least,
right, of Diana, right.
It's to somehow encapsulate strength and sort of naivete, mm-hmm. and not have one feel lesser because of the other. I mean, that's a trick, and she pulled it off. I mean, I think the definitive scene in the film is the no man's land scene, mm-hmm. which is essentially Wonder Woman's coming out party, if you will. And it's kind of interesting because Patty Jenkins talked about how that scene almost got cut out.
Right.
And you're like, really?
Yeah, I know.
To me, that's the scene. Like when you're breaking the story, you're like, we're going to have this scene, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. about an hour and 20 minutes in. Now let's come up with a story around it.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was such a perfect moment because, going back to what a great job Gal Gadot did, like having all of these things, again, like balancing confidence and eagerness and kindness, but like being fierce at the same time. Like she portrayed all those things so well, and this scene was so great because all those things sort of came out. Like we had just previously seen her trying on 20th century clothes or whatever it is, and it's sort of comical because she feels out of place, and she's on this mission that we're thinking like, well, she believes that the god of war is behind World War I, and she is just like, let me at him. I'm gonna stop this war. And so in your minds, you're like, ugh, like I know she's tough, but she doesn't get it, and like right. I'm a little worried that this might be more than she realizes. And so then they set up this scene where you've got these soldiers in trenches and haven't moved for months, and she's like, well, let me at them. And you're like, oh, be careful, kind of a thing. And then she goes out there with just nothing but her shield and just faces this onslaught of machine gun fire, and finally the troops are able to advance. And it is I loved it. It was an amazing sequence, and it really, you're like, oh damn, Wonder Woman.
It's honestly it's an instantly iconic superhero moment.
Yes. And I wanted to, oh sorry, go ahead.
Well, I mean, to me, I put it up there with when Superman flies up and rescues Lois Lane. Yes.
Yeah, it's like you said, perfect coming out party for Wonder Woman. I mean, it's, like you say, immediately iconic. And I wanted to, we'll probably get to this more later, but Patty Jenkins, I mean, this movie is really well shot as well. Yeah. And there was two things that I noticed in particular where they did overhead shots to show how well she stops bullets. And there's one where her and Steve Trevor are in an alley, and she basically thwarts like a, gunfire mugging sort of attack.
Which by the way, that's so obviously a callback to the Richard Donner Superman.
Oh yeah, exactly, totally.
Right,
and
I loved.
They do this really great overhead shot where she's sort of spinning around using her wrist guards to stop these bullets, and it was so effective in having you understand, instead of just making it a blur of cuts, like ding ding ding, she's stopping bullets. You're seeing how she is stopping the bullets, which I thought was awesome. And then in this scene is
long we get nice long shots.
Yeah. And similarly in this scene, you see this great overhead shot of her behind her shield, stopping this like rapid fire of machine gun bullets coming at her, and it was so like, damn.
Yeah.
You know? So
it's funny, you're talking about Patty Jenkins, and it's worth remembering that she was originally supposed to direct Thor: The Dark World.
Right.
And she dropped. She was, if you remember, she was Natalie Portman's choice for that, and they got her on because of that. And and Patty Jenkins is really only known before this for Monster,
which I've never seen.
Well, I've never seen it either. Yeah, Charlize Theron. But it's in hindsight, you look at how Thor: The Dark World is considered one of the weakest MCU movies,
right?
And she does start feeling like kind of the one Marvel let get away.
Mm-hmm. Now, yeah, for certain,
especially
proven.
Now. Yeah. You're talking about Chris Pine. You and I are both, we like Chris Pine.
Yes.
But he felt like a discovery in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's his job to basically be the audience surrogate to her.
Right.
Right? And he didn't feel like just a comedic side character. He felt like a guy who had a purpose and felt like a real person, but we could also, through his eyes, come to try to understand who Diana is.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, he has to endure her lasso of truth, which is, when you just put that on paper, sounds ridiculous. But when you see him endure it, you're like, oh, so that's how that works.
Yeah, it's really interesting because the character of Steve Trevor is kind of historically the love interest of Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
But in the comics, Wonder Woman enters man's world in the present.
Mm-hmm.
So they invented the World War I setting for the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so by putting Steve Trevor is a character currently in the comics as opposed to being a World War I character.
I see.
Right. So it was when I saw that he was in the World War I setting, your mind starts doing the math a little bit, and I'm like, well, he can't, obviously they can't use Chris Pine in the now DC movies.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I hope they kill him off in the movie.
Right.
That was I was like, there's no other way for it. Like, I was like, his only real role in the story that would be meaningful moving forward was if he has a memorable death. And so that was kind of where my mind was geared towards hoping that it went. So when I saw that that's where it went, I was happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
But it really, like, I was surprised by how compelling his arc was. Like, by the time he dies at the end, you really feel like you've been on a journey with this character.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah. I've seen a lot of people try to be like, oh, he's the inverse of the side female character in this movie. And I'm like, not really. Like, they actually treated him better than those characters are typically treated.
Yeah.
I thought he was I understood him as a person, and he had a meaningful death that didn't overshadow what Wonder Woman was enduring at the time. I thought they actually really well complemented each other.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he says, "I'll save today, you save the world."
Yeah. Or I think he says, "I can," right? Like, I can save today, you can save the world.
Yeah, and that's one of those
great line.
It's great, as I heard that, I was like, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
and going back to what Wonder Woman is undergoing, I think this to me gets to what I consider a weakness in the film, and maybe it's an unavoidable weakness when we're talking about this genre. Which is sort of the CGI explodey third act.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that there's any other way that they could have done it, I guess.
I don't know. And I think I had heard that before I went in. So I was sort of prepared for it and sort of like, okay, how is this going to happen? Because previously, even those battle sequences through through that town and then on the no man's land, they didn't feel like they exited reality, right? Like, there was no... I mean, even though on the island where Diana comes from, they can do crazy flips and stuff, it still somehow felt kind of grounded. And I think the problem with the third act was it just went a bridge too far in terms of losing track of physics. Throwing each other around. And I think that's why it didn't connect as well with me.
See, I think what this movie has going in its favor is that everything leading into and out of that is genuinely compelling.
Yes.
So it's not as obnoxious as, for example, Man of Steel.
Yes.
But, by the time first of all, David Thewlis' heel turn, again, is this just watching too many movies? Because the minute that character was introduced, I was like, he's going to be the villain.
That's funny, because I mean he's currently the villain on Fargo right now. So immediately when I see him, I'm like, oh, I don't trust that guy.
That guy.
Yeah.
So I was kind of expecting the heel turn. I didn't expect he would turn out to be Ares.
I didn't either.
So I will give them credit for that. But as soon as he comes out of the fire and all the shit is all over him, I was like, my mind was like, all right, like check the clock. How much is left here?
Yeah, I think two things that could have possibly fixed that is it was an over-reliance on CGI, which I realize is necessary, but it felt like CGI, whereas the rest of the movie didn't feel like that sort of weightlessness. And I think if they had, instead of just throwing her around and having all these things blow up where I don't even know where those things were, I feel like if they had made some sort of like more Spielberg-y connection between what was happening with Steve's adventure and with her facing off against him, sort of like with Indy and the airplane, and Marion's got her problems and he's got his problems with this guy fighting him. Like if they had somehow connected those things a little bit more, it might have felt a little less weightless.
Yes.
That said, it didn't ruin the movie for me.
Yeah, and I think that's the main thing. I think to some extent, because we brought this up during our discussion of Guardians of the Galaxy, which we also loved. It's kind of like baked into the cake with this genre a little bit.
Yeah.
And so when you don't get it, it's refreshing. I mean, Civil War was not that. Civil War was just two guys going at it, and that made it kind of different.
Right.
I think there was there was heart underlying the struggle, which sort of it allows you to sort of buy into the whatever. But I think just overall it was a leaving the theater, I was like, that was very, very solid. And honestly, maybe this is like the benefit of lowered expectations with these DC movies. But I mean, I don't know if it's a game changer for this universe, but it certainly points the direction these movies should go.
Yeah, I agree. And I wanted to throw in there real quick, I also really bought into the love story.
Yeah,
it didn't feel inevitable. I wasn't even sure that it was necessarily going to happen. I thought it was going to be sort of like a Rogue One thing where you sort of feel it, but you're like, man, I don't know if I really want this to happen, and then it doesn't. When you're like, that's correct. And
had they not fallen in love, that would have been fine.
It would have. But I bought that they did mutually, feel that way about each other, and I thought the way they handled it benefited from both of those people feeling like real characters, real people. And then I found it powerful when he died at the end and she was, thrown. And the way she reacted to it, I totally believed it. And then even the bookends, I'd seen some people criticize the bookends. I didn't mind the bookends. And I actually thought the end when she wrote Bruce back after looking at that picture and said, thanks for bringing him back to me.
I was just about to bring that up.
I was like, I love that.
Yeah, that specifically, I thought that was really, it underscores for the audience.
Yeah.
The idea that we're now, 100 years later and he's still the love of her life. I mean, I think there's poignancy there.
I completely agree.
I think the one thing I will say is if we never see another speed ramp action sequence, I'll be very happy. I'm so tired of that trope.
Yeah. I'm all for clarity in action scenes, as mentioned in my Pirates review, and I'm thankful that this movie did not become a blur of edits. And I didn't hate the speed ramping. I don't care, I guess. I don't like it. I don't dislike it. It just kind of is what it is for me, I guess. But as long as they don't just devolve into chop, 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 and you don't really know what's happening, I'm just happy that I understood what was happening in all the action sequences.
Yeah. So the next time we're going to see Wonder Woman will be in Justice League. which is obviously going through a major reshoot and everything else because of what happened with Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon. They're doing 2 months of reshoots.
Yeah, no small thing.
Is that about average for reshoots?
No, that's a lot. That's a lot.
See, I'm picturing Ben Affleck getting the call and Hello Darkness, My Old Friend started playing.
Well, I wonder too if I would say normal is probably like a week, maybe 2 weeks.
Sure.
Maybe. But you wonder if some of it will be in response to Wonder Woman succeeding.
Well, they have the ability to do that now.
Yeah. And frankly, I want to see more of her, so...
Well, that's kind of the interesting thing, is that up until now, Batman has sort of been the Iron Man of the DCEU, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if there will be more of an active effort to just have random, obnoxious Wonder Woman cameos in these movies.
Right.
In the same way Tony Stark just kind of shows up.
Right.
You know? But does the success of this film creatively, does it make you more or less excited for Justice League? Or nothing, or it doesn't move the needle?
I don't know that it's anything major, but yeah, I mean, it does make me... I am excited to see this character again, for sure.
Sure.
And knowing... I say this treading carefully. Like, with Justice League, I did not have a lot of excitement for it. I was like, well, I'll go, and I hope I'll like it. We'll see. But hearing that Joss Whedon is tinkering, and there's a lot of overhauls happening, and we all like Wonder Woman now, and I'm sure she's going to play into it in different ways and whatever. I'm curious what that's going to become.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I am hopeful.
Yeah.
And as far as DC movies go, you know, hope has been in short supply.
Yeah.
Despite that's what Superman's S symbol means, you know?
I know. In many ways, we got our first great Superman in decades in Wonder Woman.
It's very true.
Yeah.
Very true. But I think that's a good place to wrap up this discussion. Did you have any final thoughts that we didn't cover?
No. I'm just happy to finally talk about it with you.
Well, yeah, a big thumbs up all around for Wonder Woman. It is a very solid film, and you know, it's some people are decrying it for being not feminist enough. And I think going back to what Brian was saying earlier, it's like, well, you know, I think people need to have their expectations in check for what they want out of a movie like this.
Mm-hmm.
One person said, you know, why does she have to be super hot? Why can't it be an ugly woman? And I'm like, God, what male superhero is ugly?
Right. Dark Man.
Right? What's that?
Dark Man.
Yeah, exactly. Right, and that's Liam Neeson.
Right,
Deadpool.
Right,
oh, it's Ryan Reynolds. I mean,
right.
It's movie ugly, you know?
Yeah, I understand where those sentiments are coming from, but I think, you know, hopefully people are just happy that this movie had a lot to live up to, and I think it's amazing that it lived up to those things, and I hope people can enjoy it for what it is and the success that it turned out to be. And the inspiration it seems to be for a lot of people.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And, well, that's a good place to wind down our Wonder Woman discussion. But, hey, we will be back in 1 week, and we'll be talking about The Mummy.
Yes, we will.
And that's going to be a conversation we're going to have. So, big thanks to everybody for listening. Big thanks to all the new people checking out the show. Thanks to Blog Talk Radio. Brian, where do you want people to contact you, if you want them to contact you?
Smoke Signal? I don't know. Well, I will say that they can find my work out there. Currently, I'm writing for a show called Puppy Dog Pals, which is on Disney and Disney Junior. And if you like dogs, or if your kids like dogs, I think you guys will enjoy it.
So what Brian is basically saying is don't reach out to him, but appreciate his work.
No, I mean, people can reach out. Actually, I've had... I don't get this often because I don't put myself out there in the same ways that you do. But I've had some people reach out to me that I don't know regarding Puppy Dog Pals, just telling me how much their kids like the show, and it's really gratifying. So it's been nice, and I've tried to reply to those people and tell them how much it means.
That's very cool. Okay, so you're not like Jerry Seinfeld. Did you see this video of Jerry Seinfeld?
Yeah.
So for those of you who might not know this, so this is a video that's just been making the rounds for the past few hours. apparently Seinfeld was doing some red carpet interview, and Kesha comes up to him, the singer Kesha, and she's like, "I'm such a big fan. Can I give you a hug?" And he says, "No, no thanks." She says, "Oh, please, just a little hug." "No, no thanks."
Yeah, which is totally in his character. I mean, I don't know that it should surprise anyone.
That's the funny part. To say you're a big fan of Seinfeld and not know he probably doesn't want to hug a total stranger tells me you're not as big a Seinfeld fan as you think.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's funny because people are taking him to task.
Really? I thought it would almost be the opposite, like where...
That's what I thought.
Yeah, like some people, when they say no, they don't want to be touched.
He said it 3 times. He's like, and then the third one, he backs away from her.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's very funny because you can tell he's like old man Seinfeld now. Because he's like, I don't know who that is. And the interviewer's like, "Oh, that's Kesha." He's like, "Well, I wish her well."
Yeah, yeah.
And you realize that, like, yeah, this is like, he's like 60 plus. You know, he doesn't care about this stuff anymore. It's very funny. So my point is, if you see Brian, don't hug him.
Actually, I am a hugger, and I have to be one of those people to realize people's personal spaces and that not everybody is as comfortable as I am. So it's funny. I'm kind of the inverse of it.
That's really funny. As for me, you can find me at my website, Zackie'sCorner.com. That's ZAKIS Corner. And that's also my Twitter. That's also my Instagram. My Mummy review will be up shortly. And you can also read my vintage review, published in 1999, of the first Brendan Fraser Mummy movie, directed by Stephen Sommers.
Yeah.
So a little bit of compare and contrast. Also, check out the Nostalgia Theater commentary track for Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. That just went up a couple days ago.
Looking forward to hearing that.
Yeah. I want to get your feedback on that. As you know, if you've been listening, my friend Glenn Greenberg and I are going through the entire original series Star Trek films, so all 6 of those movies, and we're on part 2, but we got 4 more to go. So check those out. And if you have any feedback for us, moviefilmpodcast@gmail.com. Also hit like on our Facebook page, facebook.com/moviefilmpodcast. You leave comments there, we will respond, and we will read them on the show. Go to iTunes, go to Stitcher Radio. Please leave a star rating, leave a review. Every little bit helps. And we will be back in just a few days with The Mummy and more. So on behalf of Brian Hall, my name is Zachy Hassan. This has been Movie Film 121. We'll be back shortly.
Welcome, friends.